Dastil, I was kind of looking forward to trying Dragonflight, but the main story being meh again puts me off. Do you think they just screwed up or made it too simple for the casual audience? So we're not really sure with the main story yet. It's very much a typical expansion leveling thing where it's a lot of setting things up and going through the world. For the actual main storyline, I mean, we don't really know. That'll kind of be at like endgame and patches. The sort of way like, Shadowlands was just like, yeah, whatever. But, Shadowlands only truly got disappointing with the patches.
Yeah. So in that case, I would say, well, first and foremost, the same thing I would have said about World of Warcraft at any point in time, especially now. Why are you playing World of Warcraft for the story? That's a bad idea. It's not a very good game for story at all. Never was, never will be. What it is a good game for, which they scuffed in some of BFA, scuffed pretty badly in Shadowlands largely, is atmosphere and really small bits of storytelling and stuff. And Dragonflight does that, in my opinion, which is definitely my opinion and not fact. They do that pretty well. So it's like the leveling, if you take it slowly enough, pay attention to what's happening, do side quests, it is actually a really fun experience.
Yeah, side quests are where they like to sneak in a lot of the heart. I found so.
Yeah. And a lot of it works for. It doesn't work for story super well. It does work for lore. It does work for general, not investment in the world, but it does work for feeling like you're playing a game as a character in a real place. Your character feels relatively meaningful. You're kind of. There's a little tiny bit of, oh, you're the superhero, help everyone. But it is largely adventure-y kind of stuff, which feels good to me. And then the overall lore that they're seemingly hinting at with how the dragons and the titans and the primalists and all kind of interweave, and there's fun, not probably great stories there, but a fun like evolution of lore over there. It seems pretty good there.
Like,
yeah,
we were reading those lore books, and yeah, the first ones were mentioned once, but aside from that, like, we kind of both were happy enough with it.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool to go into, actually. So
the only current problem I have, and this is where, like Tanara says, the fun of WoW to me has always been the world building. And I think that's the slight issue they have, which I didn't have this issue in Pandaria or WoD or Legion. I only really had it in BFA and Shadowlands, because there's a whole thing about holistically enjoying a product, and if you enjoy something as a whole, you'll enjoy the individual parts better. Whereas the idea of like, if you I haven't had a food analogy in a while. If you eat a donut, right, and the actual dough of the donut is kind of shitty, but the filling's good, you'll be like, the filling's pretty good, but donut was kind of shit.
Yeah.
But if you eat a donut and the whole thing was good, you'll be like, holy shit, that donut was amazing, and you'll enjoy the constituent parts more as part of the whole. Which is to say,
man's explained cooking.
Yeah. So the world building in the likes of Pandaria was very disconnected, unintentionally. And they've said so I was reading interviews with I think it was Jeremy Fiesel, who's now associate game director, talking about this specifically, and how they were like taking inspiration from Pandaria for Dragonflight, and you can see that because they're world building in a very isolated way, where they're not furthering the story of Azeroth by having you introduced to these centaurs. The story's just the centaur. Same with the Iskar. It's just the Iskar. Whereas, you would do some questing in Ashenvale or the Barrens, and that would be a story about Azeroth as you know it, and like the core of Azeroth as you know it. And Pandaria's a little bit split there. But I didn't mind it in Pandaria, where I was happy to explore this new place and meet these new people, because they would be a part of Azeroth. Ultimately, they didn't do that very well with interweaving them and stuff and including them, but fundamentally it is enjoyable in its own right for world building a small new world instead of world building they're not expanding the core world, which is where I think they are kind of missing a beat for a while. They're only hinting at doing that soon enough. They're not actually doing it. But in terms of a self-contained world, the Dragon Isles is pretty nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Pretty nice, very fun. Lots of really small, cute stories. People in like each of the 4 factions feel like realized factions. They feel like they have, whole histories to them, and like each faction has different characters with different philosophies on how they deal with the world in pretty small ways, not all encompassing ways. But there's a whole section where you're like at a funeral for the Iskar, and I'm like, Yep.
Yep, it's
This
nice.
this is what we call good content, atmospherically, and I'm going to say emotionally, but I don't mean as if the emotion of a big death is like really sad. I mean emotionally, just that kind of I am enjoying the experience of being here.
Yeah, you feel
kind
like
of sense.
you're there
Yeah.
with them and their culture's appealing.
Yep, exactly.